Hello, my random viewers, and welcome to Randomly Offensive. Today, we will be continuing Genetic Wars in Genetic Wars Chapter 2, and if you had missed the previous chapter of Genetic Wars, or have missed its predecessors, Genetic Blessing, I will have both of them linked right here, right now, at the tippy top of the video. Now, this was a very hard chapter to put together, and it's a very hard chapter to do. At least it's probably the hardest chapter I've had to do, due to the pacing and the character arc development and where I need the characters and what I need the characters to be and where I need them to be to do what I need them to do. So with that all being said, I do want to apologize for any moments or times throughout this video of me sounding annoyed or wearied or tired while either narrating or delivering the dialogue of the characters. I really did try to stay in character, and I really did try not to let those emotions come out, but I can only do as good as I am capable of doing. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and let's continue with Genetic Wars Chapter 2. The Guardian stands on the tallest building in Pennsylvania as he looks down at his army of genetic blessings who have attacked the state of Pennsylvania, with all the citizens that reside within are running for their lives as they're screaming for mercy, as they scream for help, with every single human being that resides within Pennsylvania are hunted down and slaughtered, with one genetic blessing being a giant, hairy-like beast as he walks through the streets, tearing the limbs off of anyone that comes his way as he charges down, purposefully ripping off the heads of every human being that he can find, with another genetic blessing who can morph his hand into that of a hammer, brings it down onto the skulls of every victim he finds, with an army of all these genetic blessings who now follow. The Guardian has covered the streets of Pennsylvania in blood and destroyed their buildings, as every family, every human being, every world leader in the entire world watches the broadcast on their televisions in absolute horror and terrified beyond any amount of fear they've ever felt before in this 7-year-long war, as an attack like this, to this level, has never been done in this 7-year-long war, and the world leaders now demand and command for every military to engage in Pennsylvania and bring down this attack, to stop this attack, with the American president sitting, trying to figure out why an attack to this tier has happened. Why and how could an attack like this have ever happened? And what about the genetic blessings has changed to force an attack that he has never, ever seen the likes of before? And while the world sits in silence during the bloodbath of Pennsylvania, Al begins loading every gun that he can fit on his person, while equipping Howard's revolver and the blade of Excalibur, and commanding his own military unit and Al charges in to Pennsylvania to kill the Guardian, to protect the victims, and to gain revenge on the man who had killed Vince Caballero. Meanwhile, Alex equips herself in a mecha suit that she had designed in the past 7 years, while equipping on her right hand a gauntlet that has a tablet on her wrist, while equipping another gauntlet on her left hand that would appear to have multiple extensions attached to it, as she then stares in the mirror with bloody intent. She turns around and begins walking out of the hideout, and begins walking to a jet that Vince had purchased nearly 7 years ago, with Walter, Howard, and Zorg following behind her. She walks with confidence, but also with pure rage, with Abraham quickly running around her and putting his hands out towards her. Alex, you need to stop. You can't do this. You cannot do this. Young lady, you are going in seeing red, and you are the one of reason. You're our strategist, Alex. I don't care what I am. Abraham, the Guardian, Dracula is going to die for what he's done. He's going to die for killing. He's going to die for killing. Get out of my way, Abraham, responds Alex, with Abraham slowly shaking his head. No, I am not going to get out of the way. You are going into a fight. You're going into a battle blind. And this is not what the Yin Yangs do. The Yin Yangs do not join a side. We do not side with the humans or the genetic blessings. You need to get your personal grievances out. This is not what Vince would want. Well, Vince isn't here. And the man that made Vince not be here is attacking Pennsylvania, and he's killing millions of people that don't deserve it. And you know as well as I that if Vince hates anything more than himself, it's the killing of innocents. And so, with his absence, I'm the one in charge, meaning I make the call. And my call is that we go to Pennsylvania and kill Dracula. So, you either join us or you stay behind, but you're not convincing me, responds Alex as she pushes Abraham out of the way and walks to the jet with Walter, Howard, and Zorg going into the jet with her. Abraham just stares. This is not going to end well. You know that, right? You know that we're making a big mistake. But if I let you die, Vince may actually haunt me if he is dead, and if he isn't, he'll surely kill me. So, I will join. But you better have a plan. You have better figured out how we're going to get out of this alive. Have you thought that far, Alex? The only thing I've thought about, responds Alex as she looks at her feet with pure anger, sadness, rage, and loss, is how it's going to feel to put a bullet in the head of the Guardian. And that's all you need to know. Us getting out alive, I'll leave that up to Walter. Okay, fair enough. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, Al, with his unit, amongst many others, are approaching on the transport aircrafts as the planes and the aircrafts get closer and closer to Pennsylvania. They see Dracula standing on the tallest building, as he too sees all of the aircrafts and all the planes and jets. He quickly starts moving his hands as if he is performing an orchestra, with large, thin spikes erupting from the ground and flying in the air, piercing through the jets, planes, and transport aircrafts, with them not being like bullets as they fling through the air, but remaining stuck in the ground as it impales the planes, with each one of them exploding and then just being stuck and hoisted in the air, with spear and spike and blades erupting from the ground, one after another, piercing through every single plane. Al looks outside as he flies over Pennsylvania. Well, you really are keeping to your namesake, aren't you, Dracula the Impaler? Says Al, as he manages to have the plane fly close enough to him. He begins shooting a fully automatic rifle directly towards the Guardian. However, the bullets just stop in midair and then sprinkle down to the ground as Al sees a spike erupting from the ground, going straight towards his plane. He dives out and tumbles across the building that the Guardian stands on, as Al holds his ribs from the pain and stumbles to stand up. Dude, what the hell are you doing, man? Why would you just go headfirst into a frickin' battle like this, man? Why? You gotta tell me. Why'd you kill Vince? Isn't it obvious? Responds Dracula, just as calm as he normally is. I informed you guys a long time ago that my ambitions, my goal, was to eradicate the human race and leave only genetic blessings behind. And being the guardian of genetic blessings, that would give me full control over the entire world. It's called true peace, Al. No one will ever start another war. No one will ever misbehave with me as their god. Yeah, responds Al as he waves the blade of Excalibur at him. I do remember something like that, and honestly, dude, it's ridiculous. And what you're doing down there, do you not hear the screams of your victims? Do you not hear them begging for mercy? I mean, all of Pennsylvania is practically painted red. And you want to call that peace or being reasonable? You know, Al, you sound a lot like the Chief when he was younger. You sound an awful lot like Von Helsing. In fact, you're practically quoting him. Yeah, well, he wasn't all bad, was he? So, are we going to do this? Says Al as he holds his arms out while still holding the blade of Excalibur and then pulling Howard's revolver out of his holster, with the Guardian only smirking. You wouldn't stand a chance against me, Al. And, to be honest, I actually would feel bad taking you out. So, allow me to contract the task, says the Guardian, as a genetic blessing who looks like a large, hairy beast that has been tearing people to shreds has climbed the building and is now at the top with a man who can morph his hands into a hammer has too reached the top of the building and now stands before Al, in between him and the Guardian, as they begin walking to Al. You know, I'm not the same guy you knew 7 years ago, Guardian. I feel like you're making a mistake, says Al with his arms still fully extended, with the Guardian only returning a smirk as he snaps his fingers and signifies for the beast-like genetic blessing and the hammer-morphing genetic blessing to charge in towards Al. Al points at the legs of the beast as it charges towards him and pulls the trigger 4 times, with 2 bullets hitting each knee of the beast, as the bullets then quickly expand into ice, forcing the beast's legs to not be able to move. As the man morphs his hands into a hammer and then swings it towards Al, Al throws his revolver in the air and then quickly blocks the hammer with the blade of Excalibur, slicing the man's hand clean off, while simultaneously quickly pulling out a taser gun and shooting the man in the chest, with the volts of electricity forcing him down on his knees. Al lets go of the taser gun and catches the thrown revolver with the same hand as he points it to the head of the man and pulls the trigger, with the bullet making a loud whistling noise as it enters the skull of the man, with his brains exploding across the rooftop, as Al then opens the chamber of the revolver and puts in only 1 more bullet and closes it as he points it at the beast man, who has now broken the ice, and pulls the trigger. With electricity surrounding the bullet, it enters the skull of the beast, and the beast drops dead, with Al putting the gun in the holster and looking at the Guardian. Told you, man. Seriously? 2 of the exact same type of genetic blessings? You sent me 2 aggressive types. Those are like the easiest to take out, man. Says Al with a proud look on his face, though the Guardian has not changed his demeanor one bit as he continues smirking at Al. Very impressive. Very impressive. I remember the day you struggled to take out even 1 aggressive type. I remember when the likes of Zorg nearly killed you and Jasmine. So, what should I do about your newfound strength? What should I do about your newfound skills and abilities? Well, for starters, you can stop talking and fight me. You killed my best friend, man. Wrong. I killed a genetic blessing who wasn't even loyal to his own race. Yeah, man, you are so wrong, says Al, now pointing a finger at the Guardian. You are so wrong. You have no idea how wrong you are. Vince started the war to end the oppression of genetic blessings, but he is not insane enough to think that he is worthy to rule an entire world. And he's not insane enough, nor heartless enough, nor crazy enough, or idiotic enough to think that an entire race has to be extinct in order for another race to live on. He wants a coexistent world, man. I'd say he cares quite a bit. I would disagree. I'd say he's a coward. So, is he still alive? Responds Al, throwing the Guardian off of his guard, as the Guardian no longer has a smirk as he stares at Al. Huh, he is, isn't he? He is still alive, isn't he? What makes you say that? 'Cause you said that just now. You weren't talking about him in past tense, were you? You're talking about him in the present state. You're referring to him as though he still exists, and the second I asked you if he is still alive, that smirk of yours, it was gone. Your eyes widened, dude. You just told me that Vince is still alive, which, honestly, since I don't know where he is or how long he's gonna stay alive, it doesn't change my anger towards you. So, I'm gonna ask this one more time. Are we going to do this, man? Says Al with the Guardian, returning his smirk, but this time it's more of a smile. No, we are not going to do this, man. But you are going to die today, says the Guardian as he raises his hands, and genetic blessings begin jumping over the edge of the top of the building while also exiting the staircase that leads to the top of the building, as Al is quickly surrounded by all sorts of genetic blessings. Alright, let's do it. Meanwhile, Alex, Zorg, Howard, Walter, and Abraham begin to approach Pennsylvania on the jet, with Alex seeing a cluster of genetic blessings on the top of a building, with the Guardian standing on the edge. There he is, says Alex. However, before she can begin firing at the building, Abraham puts his hand on her shoulder. Do you see that? I believe it's Al, says Abraham, with Alex quickly looking at the horde of genetic blessings, and sure enough, there stands Al in the center of the building as he is fighting a countless amount of genetic blessings, with the sword of Excalibur moving on its own as if it can think on its own, blocking any attack that Al may not see, while at the same time allowing Al to use it whenever he needs to go on the offensive, as the blade turns a golden color and slashes through some of the strongest Guardian types with no issues, and can block some of the most powerful strikes from the aggressive types with absolutely no issues, as Al continues firing his revolver, sometimes at a genetic blessing, but other times simply in the air or down into the ground to create loud bursts of sound, so that any mentalist type that may be in the area cannot work efficiently or use their abilities properly in order to defeat him, while then rotating the kind of bullets he uses to consistently give him the edge on the Guardian types and the aggressive types and the mentalist types, and even the absorption types, though Al has had far too much experience dealing with them, as they're hardly a threat anymore, though the massive numbers do begin to weigh on Al as he begins getting struck and harmed and injured, as he is getting overtaken by this incredibly large amount of enemies that he now has surrounding him, with Alex seeing that Al may not have much longer, quickly looks at Zorg. Hey Zorg, I need you to jump out of this plane as soon as the plane hits the building, and then you need to tackle Hold on, wait, hold on! Interrupts Abraham. What do you mean hitting the building? Why are we going to hit the building? Says Abraham frantically, with Alex ignoring him. I have what we need to get out of this plane, so, says Alex as she manipulates the jet with the iPad on her wrist as it angles down and the speed increases as it flies towards the building. We need to jump now, says Alex as she throws every single one of them except for Zorg a parachute and jumps out of the plane, with Walter following, and then Howard and Abraham just looking at each other. This is insane. Yeah, but it's fun, ain't it? Says Howard as he jumps out of the plane while still putting the parachute on his back. Abraham quickly puts the parachute on and dives out as Zorg stands right next to the doorway of the jet as the jet slams into the building and it ignites the explosion Zorg had already left just seconds before. As Zorg rams through countless genetic blessings as he tackles Al and bear hugs Al, protecting him from what is about to happen as the jet rams into the side of the building and erupts in a massive explosion. It tears the building down as the building begins to crumble, killing many genetic blessings, and the Guardian is stuck in the top as it begins to crumble, and the rubble begins pulling him down along with Zorg and Al, as Zorg holds onto Al, protecting him with his own body as the building crashes to the ground. Zorg and Al are now covered in rubble as they are buried, with the Guardian forcing his way out as he reaches his hand out of the rubble and pulls his body from it, and then slowly stands up as in the distance he can see Alex, Abraham, Howard, and he wonders how he could have ever thought that the rest of them wouldn't be a threat as he stares at Alex. So, it would appear I'm gonna have to kill every single one of you today. That is a shame, says the Guardian, as he snaps his fingers once again, and every single genetic blessing in Pennsylvania begins charging and surrounding Alex, Howard, and Abraham, with Abraham looking around. Well, now, where the hell is Walter? Asks Abraham with Alex, staring right back at the Guardian as they stare each other down, even though they are far distant from one another, with Alex finally responding to Abraham. I lied to you, Abraham. I have no idea how we're gonna get out of this alive, and I didn't think that far ahead, and I made no plans for that to be accomplished. So, when I said that was up to Walter, he probably took me seriously, and the second we got out of that plane, he probably started working on some way to get us out. But for now, I need you and Howard to cover me, says Alex, with Abraham looking disappointingly at Alex, yet at the same time understanding, for her eyes have not left the Guardians. And so Howard and Abraham stand on each side of Alex. As Alex goes down on one knee, Howard pulls out his two revolvers, and Abraham forms two flames in his palm of his hands. With the horde of genetic blessings charging at them, Abraham quickly ignites large amounts of fire, and as much heat as he can possibly put out, keeping as many of them at bay as possible, while Howard fires his revolvers over and over, reloading as fast as he can, multiple amounts of times, as he pulls the trigger on every genetic blessing that manages to get through the flames from Abraham, with Alex running her fingers across the tablet on her gauntlet on her right hand as she's pushing buttons and moving algorithms, while occasionally still looking up at the Guardian, who, for some reason, remains standing there staring at them and hasn't lifted a finger. So Alex pushes him out of her mind and begins thinking logically as she continues running the algorithms on her tablet. Throughout the world, she begins to affect it as jets begin to take off on their own. Trains end up smashing to a halt, and almost everything that you can run through technology has become under full control from Alex as she takes over the likes of even refrigerators and blenders, smart TVs, and baby monitors, and takes over any little thing that might be programmed, as she collects a large worldwide arsenal. She begins to stand back up and begins walking towards the Guardian. Though she is not walking to him with the utmost confidence, she's not walking to him with a demeanor of raw strength and power, but instead, she is walking almost as if she is no longer human, walking with her eyes completely zoned out and her face expressionless, as her body is almost that of a machine or a possessed being. As she continues walking to the Guardian finds this interesting. And oddly for him, he also finds it intimidating, as he quickly signals for the genetic blessings to single out Alex and go on the offensive towards only her. Abraham and Howard continue fighting as many of them as possible, though with the command of the Guardian, the genetic blessings begin to ignore the efforts of Howard and Abraham as they all begin surrounding Alex, and Alex, with one movement of her finger on the tablet, causes the sky to be covered in a very, very numerous number of jets, as the jets are flying faster than any man would be willing to fly them. She controls them remotely, with no concern of anyone that may be inside, as she forces the jets to fly at the top speed as they all come crashing down and raining down on Pennsylvania, as it's showering hundreds, if not thousands of jets as they rain down on Pennsylvania, with Howard and Abraham quickly diving for cover. The jets hit the ground and ignite in many, many explosions as it kills countless genetic blessings, while at the same time she takes full control over any vehicle, any car that she is capable of hacking into, as they begin driving on their own, ramming into genetic blessings. And then she rotates her fingers on the tablet, creating a magnetic pulse around the palm of her hands as she begins pulling refrigerators and utilities out of houses, and they launch out of the doors, walls, and windows of all of their homes and smashes into the remaining genetic blessings, while even stoplights, stop signs, and anything made of metal begin flying around her, creating an odd barrier as she continues walking towards the Guardian. Unscathed, untouched, and unharmed, Alex has just taken out over half of the Guardian's army, with the Guardian raising his eyebrows and widening his eyes. He begins to realize that he's gonna have to take on Alex with his own hands, for somehow, this young girl, this child, has somehow managed to become a bigger threat than even Vince himself. As the Guardian begins walking to Alex, he knows that she will stand no chance against him. However, as he takes a step, he suddenly stops as fear enters the Guardian, and he quickly looks up into the sky. "Who? How?" says the Guardian as he looks into the sky. Somebody has entered my temple," says the Guardian, as even more fear enters him as he says the words. For who, possibly who, could have managed to get into his temple without him being there, without his permission, as he instantly disappears and vanishes before Alex. Alex's eyes widen as she sees the disappearance of her target and quickly falls onto her knees, almost as an instant muscle reaction, seeing the Guardian just vanish before she had a chance to avenge Vince. She begins screaming, and then she hears Howard and Abraham still fighting for their lives. As she quickly looks around, the genetic blessings once again have surrounded them, with Alex now becoming truly afraid, for her plan required the death of the Guardian, and now, without the Guardian being anywhere close enough to be a target, they face an army that they surely cannot beat. With Zorg finally pulling himself out of the rubble, with Al, who is unharmed, grasping the blade of Excalibur, they too end up in the fray, surrounded by genetic blessings. As they all manage to regroup with one another, Abraham presses his back against Alex's back. "So, you said that Walt would get us out of here. Do you have any idea what he may be doing, or where he may be?" says Abraham, with Alex not being able to respond, for she truly doesn't know, with the five of them standing in a circle, facing off against who knows how many genetic blessings. Alex looks at Abraham. "I'm sorry," she says. "I did not come into this logically, and like you said, I came in seeing red. And I don't know what's gonna happen after this." Meanwhile, the Guardian rushes into his golden white temple as he kicks open his doors and walks into the large empty room with nothing but his throne. He sees Walter sitting on his throne with a large amount of confidence, as Walter is leaned back comfortably with his legs spread and his arms wide. "What the hell?" Why the hell are you sitting on my throne? Says the Guardian. And how the hell did you get in here? Continues the Guardian, with Walter looking around. Yeah, that is a very, very good question, yeah? How did I get in here? Responds Walter, pretending to be just as confused as the Guardian, with the Guardian looking down with a smile, and then looking back up. So, you must be Walter. I've heard a lot about you, says the Guardian, with Walter returning a smile. Have you now heard a lot about me? Yeah, well, you are right. Yes, that is my name. And you are a Guardian, yeah? But there's so many of you, I don't know which one you are. What is your name again? Says Walter, with the Guardian getting angry at this question and forcing himself to have to calm down, for he knows that Walter is only trying to get under his skin and is trying to anger him by asking such a foolish question, for who could possibly forget the name Count Dracula? And so the Guardian ignores this ploy, this tactic. Tell me, Walter, why are you here? What have you come to accomplish? Asks the Guardian. Well, I have come to make a deal, yeah? I've come to make a bargain with you, yeah? Responds Walter, with the Guardian intrigued. And what kind of deal would that be? Right. You have to know what it is before agreeing to it, eh? Well, the deal's simple, my friend. You are going to retreat from Pennsylvania, call off your genetic blessings, yeah, and leave the yin-yangs alone and back the hell off. That's the deal. And that is what you are going to do, yeah? And why on earth would I do that? Responds the Guardian, with Walter slowly standing up from the Guardian's throne and slowly walking towards him. Because I know the situation that you're in, and I also know, my friend, yeah, what kind of consequences that you are about to face, yeah, and the other Guardians are not happy with you, yeah. The other Guardians are very, very upset with you because you've been a very naughty boy. You got personally involved, yeah. You denied Von Helsing the God of Orb, even though that he was more than qualified, he was more than worthy. You, yeah, denied him for personal bias. That goes against the Guardian Code, yeah? And you broke the code. You broke that code, and then you got personally involved, my friend. Yeah, you got personally involved in ensuring that Vince and the others obtained the God Orb, allowing them to start this war. Yeah, and the other Guardians, they're not pleased. They are very unhappy with you. And what do you think they'll do, yeah? If I were to tell them what you're doing here today, right now. says Walter as he towers over the Guardian, with the Guardian looking up at him with a snarl and anger that he has not felt in a long time. And so, what makes you think that I just won't kill you now and make it so that you cannot tell the Guardians? With Walter then shrugging his shoulders and tilting his head to the side as he turns away from the Guardian and begins walking away, and then turns back to the Guardian, pointing a finger. That would be a very, very stupid decision. That would not be wise. My friend, if you know who I am, you know my name, and you've heard a lot about me, you would know, that would be a very, very unwise decision, because if you kill me, the Guardians, they will kill you, and then all your crimes will have to be undone and discovered, right? They will find out, that Vince Caballero is being unrightfully held in your prison, because you are holding him in prison, and he is one of the other ones, he's one of the other ones, and he will be set free. And what do you think will happen when he finds out that you, my friend, killed not only all of Pennsylvania, but you killed his father figure, his best friend, and his daughter? You saw what he was capable of when he thought Alex had died. What do you think he'll do if he finds out you killed everyone he cares about, man? What do you think he'll do if he found out you killed everybody that he loves? He has not found his full potential, and when he does, you do not want to be on the receiving end of that. So me dying would be very, very bad for you, So, the way I see it, my friend, is that you and I, right here, right now, are forced to make an agreement, We are forced to make a deal, says Walter, with the Guardian now crossing his arms and looking down at the floor as he thinks. Walter, I have only one question to ask before we start bargaining. Alright, I'm not gonna tell you that I have an answer, but you feel free to ask your question, Why? Why are you making a deal with me here today? What is your motivation? What goal have you been sent to accomplish that forces you to deal with me? Well, that's simple. I've been sent here to protect a particular person, a person who is part of the Yin Yangs. I have been sent down to protect that person, meaning, in this instant, in this exact moment, I have been forced to get involved, because it is what I have to do to protect this person. The other Guardians are the ones that want this other person to be protected. This person cannot die, and so I need you to back off and leave the Yin Yangs and Owl alive. I will not get involved any further, and
I will not get involved in the war itself unless it means the death of this one person. Yeah. So if you make a deal with me here today, then the war is yours, and you can keep doing what you are doing, and I will not tell the other Guardians what you've been up to, yeah? But I need you to stand down today so that you can fight tomorrow, yeah?
Very well. You have told me what you want me to do, and you have presented the consequences of not making a deal with you. So, the only other question is, what are the pros? What benefit will you bring me to make this deal, to back away and leave the Yin Yangs alone for today? Says the Guardian, with Walter then walking towards him with a much faster pace than he did before, and beginning to snarl and breathe heavily while locking his eyes to the Guardian as he once again stands toe to toe, towering over him.
The benefits, eh? Well, if I was not a kinder man, if I was not a nicer man, yeah, I tell you that the benefits were you not getting devoured and torn to shreds by the Guardians. The other Guardians see you as a laughing stock, and they would crucify you, tear you limb from limb, starting with your pinky toe, yeah? That would be the benefit of making a deal with me, would be not dying in agonizing eternal pain. But I'm not like that, eh?
Responds Walter as he then suddenly calms down and stops snarling as he once again walks away from the Guardian.
Your benefit with making a deal with me, yeah, is your choice. You tell me what you want from me, yeah, and I'll make it happen for you. And then we can part ways peacefully and with no drama, yeah? Yeah, how does that sound to you? Yeah, you make a request. Go ahead. I'm listening, says Walter as he waves his hand towards his ear, with the Guardian not knowing this feeling that he is having, this unfamiliar feeling of somewhat fright, intimidation, not quite understanding what makes this man before him, this Walter, so intimidating. Is it his size, or is it something else? Though he figures he can figure that question out another day, as he then locks eyes once again with Walter. I want you to get rid of the Yin Yangs. I want the Yin Yangs to no longer be amongst us. Okay, right, yeah. I think I could do that, yeah? Says Walter as he nods his head and points a finger at the Guardian. And just to clarify, to make sure that this deal is solid, you want the organization itself, the unit of the Yin Yangs, to be gone. You want the organization itself to no longer exist. Is that what I am hearing from you today, right now, right here?
Yes,
I want the entire organization, the entire unit gone, says the Guardian, proud of his quick thinking on his feet, for only one of the two things can happen. Walter would be incapable of doing such a task, of eradicating, of getting rid of an entire unit, an entire organization that has built an impressive army over the 7 years, an impressive following, and has even recruited in the entire country of Italy. He, Walter, would either do that or would fail. And in his failure, the deal would be null and void, meaning the Guardian could then do whatever he pleases without Walter ever getting in his way again. So, the Guardian then, with restored confidence, walks to Walter, extending his hand out. So, do we have a deal? With Walter looking at the Guardian's hand, nodding his head towards it. Yeah, I do believe that we have a deal here. So, let's shake hands on that deal, and then you call off those genetic blessings right now, eh? Call them off right now, yeah? And then I, later, in time, will let you know when the yin-yangs are no longer an issue, yeah? Says Walter, as he then shakes hands with the Guardian, and the Guardian then gives his fingers a snap. With Alex, Abraham, Al, Zorg, and Howard all fighting as hard as they could possibly fight, putting everything they have into surviving this onslaught of endless genetic blessings, begin to lose hope when the genetic blessings suddenly stop and they all just vanish and disappear. With relief coming over Abraham, Zorg, Howard, and Al, Alex does not feel the relief, but instead only pure anger for what has today brought, what has today done, for she has not found out any information about Vince and whether he is or is not alive, and she was incapable of getting her revenge on the Guardian as she calmly walks over to a piece of rubble and sits down, wallowing in her own thoughts. Walter then begins walking to her, seemingly from nowhere, as Abraham sees Walter. Now, where the hell have you been? We have just fought a ridiculous battle that we should not have won, and you just stroll up here afterwards, and where were you? Says Abraham, with Walter looking back at him. I made it so that you're not dead. Yeah, I negotiated. Yeah, that's my job. That's why you guys hired me, right? That I negotiate, and that's what I did. Yeah.
Negotiate with who, Walter? Responds Alex, with Walter then looking at her and kneeling down, putting his hands on her shoulders and then placing his forehead against hers.
Now you look here, Alex, my love, you did a good thing here today. You did not kill a Guardian, and you did not save Vince, but you did stop a slaughter, because this war wasn't going to stop in Pennsylvania. Yeah, this war was going to continue. You possibly saved an entire country, and even with that being said, if I had not gotten involved, if I had not negotiated, yeah, you single-handedly took out half of his army, meaning eventually humanity may have actually won because of you, yeah, but you are going to die as a result, and I wasn't gonna let that happen. Yeah, says Walter with Alex looking into his eyes. Walter, who did you negotiate with? Says Alex with Walter rotating his head as if he's trying to pop his neck. Wait. I negotiated with the enemy. Like I always do, yeah. I have a plan. I have a system, yeah, and we will be able to get out of this one. We'll win. We are going to win, but it's going to take time, yeah? And you need to trust me, my love. You need to trust that I have your best interest in heart. I'm not going to betray you, yeah? But I did negotiate with the enemy, and I'm the reason we're all still alive. So I don't want you getting angry with me, yeah? Says Walter, with Alex nodding her head, and Al walking up. Oh, so who is this guy exactly? Oh, wow. And why does he keep calling you my love? That's how old are you? Says Al, pointing at Walter, with Walter standing, towering over Al by 2 feet. I'm the negotiator. Yeah, I negotiate with people, says Walter to Al, with Al nodding his head. Yeah, I would have assumed that you'd be more of a fighter or a warrior, not a politician, but I guess it makes sense that the Yin Yangs needed somebody to negotiate due to the position you guys are in, says Al, with Alex standing up. Yes, so now we need to talk about the future. What exactly are we gonna do? And Walter, since you obviously have information that I don't, you need to be a part of that, says Alex, as they all leave Pennsylvania and return to their HQ, to their hideout that was provided to them by Vince nearly 7 years ago. They all sit in Alex's computer room, with Alex at the head of the table and Walter at the other head, with Alex having strategies and tactics in place, ready to indulge and provide any plans that they are going to need to defeat their now true threat of the genetic blessings. With Alex standing up. Okay, before I get into our strategies, before I get into our tactics, Walter, you need to let us in on some of the information. I understand that you can't tell us everything, and I understand that you have to keep secrets. But we need something to go off of, says Alex, with Walter nodding his head and standing up, with Al intrigued at what kind of relationship these two have, for trust is normally a big issue for the majority of people, yet somehow these two are perfectly fine with their own secrets, as Walter then, out of nowhere and somewhat randomly, punches the table. Alright, yeah, well, so in order to keep true to the negotiations that saved all of our lives, yeah, and in order to fulfill my end of the bargain, my end of the deal, we are going to have to, we need to negotiate with the human race. We have to no longer be the yin yangs. We have to eradicate that organization. Vince's plan will still be in effect. Vince's coexistent thing will still work because the human race is getting to the point where they're gonna need genetic blessings. They're gonna need genetic blessings, and they're gonna need the kind of skill and abilities that the likes of Abraham and others bring to the table. So it's time to pick a side.
Now hold on, responds Abraham. The yin yangs do not pick sides. The yin yangs are supposed to be the middle ground, the gray area. That's why we're called the yin yangs. A little bit of good in all evil, and a little bit of evil in all good. So, why would we even bother joining a side?
Well, see, that no, see, that is wrong. The yin yangs were designed to start the coexistence of genetic blessings and humanity, and we are doing that right now. We are doing that. If all of the yin yangs side with the human race, the human side, we will then start that coexistence much more effectively, mind you, than Vince's original plan.
So, I have one question, interrupts Al. How exactly do you intend on siding with the human race, and how the hell, after today, do you expect any human being to trust a genetic blessing? How in the hell? Like, we know of the yin yangs. Yeah, I'm the side. I have been on the human side for the past 7 years, and they don't think highly of the yin yangs. They don't hate you guys, but they don't like you guys either. The second they had of a chance, they would gladly exterminate the yin yangs. The only reason you guys lasted as long as you did is because they didn't know about you until 4 years in, and by then it was too late. And we had Vince, making sure that he kept the sights on him and not on you guys, but that's not the case anymore, and you just want to waltz up to the human race and hope that they take you in? Responds Al, with Howard, Abraham, Alex, and even Zorg nodding in agreement.
Now, I don't want you doubting my skill. Al, you and I are gonna be the only two. You are able to set up a meeting, and you're gonna do that. You are going to set up a meeting between the world leaders, and you and I. And it is just gonna be you and I. And I am very good at my job, and I don't need you doubting my abilities. I mean, let's make something very, very clear right now, Al. You see, you named me only one other person that could have negotiated with Dracula himself. You name me one person who could have walked up to the winning side, in a war and negotiate with the victor. You name me one other person that can do that, and then I will not push this matter any further. But if you cannot name me that one person, we are going to, you and I, go and have this meeting, and I will do my job, my job, and negotiate. And the Yin Yangs will shut down as an organization, and side with the human race, and start the coexistence that we all want to see happen. This is why we started the war, is so that this coexistence would happen. This is why your lover, Jasmine, died, right? Is for this cause,
says Walter, with Owl beginning to glare at him for bringing up Jasmine and using Jasmine against him. But then again, Walter is right, and so, reluctantly, Al agrees to set up a meeting for him and Walter to go and try to convince the world leaders to allow the Yin Yangs to join the human side. And with that all out of the way, Alex then takes over. With the newfound information she has from Walter, she quickly begins informing the Yin Yang of their next tactical move and what they may be able to accomplish if they are sided with the human race. And that is Genetic Wars Chapter 2, and I will be continuing it in Genetic Wars Chapter 3. And if you have listened for this long, and if you've really enjoyed it, thank you very, very much, and please do hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves, don't get by a meteor, and bye.